Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today is February 2nd because I got my days mixed up, but it's question time regardless. So, what question time is, it gives you, ladies and gentlemen, the opportunity to ask a question in the comments down below, and in a subsequent future video in a few days, I will answer the questions orally, and you can enjoy said responses. They can be pad related, they don't necessarily have to be pad related. As long as it's like a PG audience themed question, it should be reasonably acceptable to ask. Now, that being said, let me talk about the book I read this month. So, I read Mars in January. I actually had most of it read at the beginning of January, and then my speed got a little slower as I just got a little slower throughout. But it wasn't necessarily because the book was poor, it's just because I had other things going on, got a little bit busier. But as a whole, Red Mars is quite an enjoyable book. It's by Kim Stanley Robinson, and the idea is that the premise is we're trying to terraform Mars, or like colonization of Mars. So basically, like, humans have finally managed to reach Mars, and they're sending out basically the first 100 to colonize Mars. They basically have a one-way trip ticket there. They have to land and live and build some sort of semblance of a settlement. And it's quite interesting of basically what happens, because like the politics involved of like, we have a brand new, like, say, like frontier era, so to speak, like the colonization frontier of like going out, colonizing, settling the new world, claiming land as your own. But in this case here, there are no natives to oppress and kill. It's just a barren, desolate wasteland, essentially. So there's still that concept of like capitalism, where it's like, that Mars is a resource-rich planet, relatively speaking, because it's never been mined or touched. So people potentially might go in there and attempt to, try and take what is they want for themselves. You also have issues of like the first 100, the inter-community that they have, like those own internal politics, problems that arise there. And also, it is still a sci-fi based book, so like there's the concept of like trying to terraform Mars, maybe constructing a space elevator. How do you heat up the planet? Fun fact, if you've ever played the board game Terraforming Mars, which I think is a reasonable game, not my favorite, but it's still reasonable, it's all about, terraforming Mars. And what happens in the board game is like you have multiple ways to try and, make Mars habitable. So in this book, they're doing all the exact same stuff because it's science. And basically the idea is like, well, how can we introduce water into the planet? Maybe we're going to drop asteroids into it, maybe crash them in to release heat, maybe try and grow something to like cover the surface to like absorb heat instead of reflecting it back out, things like that. There's a lot of cool ideas out there, and I think it's quite a fun adventure book. For the most part, the book was quite fast-paced, I'd say, but I feel that the very last part, because I think it's split into like 7 or 8 parts, was a little slow. Part 8 was a little slow, I felt, considering it's supposed to be like, the climax or main resolution for the book, but part 7 was kind of that more so by comparison, I felt. But with that being said, this is only book 1 of a book 3 series, and take a guess what I'm going to read this month. It's going to be Green Mars. Wonder what happened. Why is it called Green Mars? Who knows? Read the first book and find out. But hopefully this book keeps the pace up overall, aside from part 8. So with that being said, feel free to ask your lovely questions, and also feel free to also give book recommendations. I tend to love sci-fi and dystopic novels, especially if it's sci-fi plus dystopic. With that being said, hopefully you'll have a truly fantastic day. I wish you the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.